Sri Lanka is an island in the Indian Ocean, just south of equator, and is one of the beautiful places to anybody to visit. Marvelous sandy beaches, greenish tea gardens, and places with historical archaeological values adds to its beauty. Starting from 15th century, many Western European powers tried to engage Sri Lanka militarily. Sri Lankan history is full of adventurous stories about how native kings fought with imperialists. Galle is located at the extreme southwest corner of the island, where the shoreline turns east towards Matara and Tangol. The fort, like most of the other forts in Sri Lanka, is built on a small peninsula belonging to the sea as much as to the land. There are treacherous rocks in the water near the fort, and a treacherous current, so a pilot was needed to approach it. The seafloor here is littered with shipwrecks. The only way to attempt a conquest was to attack it from the land side, where the Zon, Man, and Ster bastions are impenetrable. Galle has something special about it. It is a blend of both past and the present, the native and the colonial. It was here that the first Portuguese fleet by Leonardo de Almeida sailed into the country nearly 5 centuries ago. It was here that the Dutch, more than 3 centuries ago, built the famous palaces. Fort which still retains its old world charm, with its high ramparts and ornate peppermint towers. It was here that cottage industry such as turtle shells, ware, ebony ornaments, and Bilaru lace flourished about 2 centuries ago, before gradually declining or passing into oblivion. Galle was no doubt once a leading center of the native arts and crafts. Galle Dutch Fort is a UNESCO declared World Heritage Site built by the invading Dutch colonial forces in the city of Galle in Sri Lanka in early part of the 17th century. It took almost 50 years and several thousand laborers to complete the work. Most of the laborers came from Indonesia and Mozambique to do the job. The total area is around 25 square kilometers, and the fort houses around 400 colonial style villas and buildings. The Dutch ruled only the coastal part of Sri Lanka, whereas the local kings ruled the rest of the island, especially the hill country and the middle part of the country. Reformed Church, situated in Church Street Fort, is one of the major attractions today. The church goes back to its 17th century architecture and was built by the invading Dutch during that period. Many weddings and funerals were held in this church. Even the churchyard is today full of tombs of those of bygone era. The church is one of the major attractions for anybody who visit the fort. When we speak about Dutch Reformed Church, another name that goes with it is the Church Street. Church Street, which starts from the east end of the fort and goes up to the west end of the fort facing the sea, is an important and remarkable milestone inside the fort. And it is a small lane. It looks like an European 17th century land, where in both sides of the road you find small houses as well as big villas. The remarkable thing is all these houses resemble the 17th century Dutch architecture. The real charm of the Gaul lies in the quiet back streets and alleyways of the historic fort, which have changed little, if at all, since colonial times. There are two entries into the fort, the main gate as well as the old gate. With the exception of the Zawat bastion, the interior of Galle Fort is strongly redolent of the Dutch period. Several of the narrow streets still bear Dutch names such as Leanbaan and Moshe Straat. Beneath the streets, an efficient Dutch-built sewerage system is still flushed out twice daily by the rising tides of the mighty Indian Ocean. Many of the streets are lined with formerly opulent buildings characterized by large rooms, arches, verandas, and windows protected by heavy wooden lowered shutters. Galle is one of the best preserved examples of the 17th century colonial fortification in the world, and is on the UNESCO list World Monuments and is a UNESCO declared World Heritage Site. The reason for its remarkable state of preservation is that this once busy trading town, visited by the East Indian fleet of Dutch and many regional traders, fell upon slack times after the Dutch had left. The development did take place focus on the new town of Galle outside the fort. The fort is the really walled city, with a rectangular pattern of streets full of low houses and gables and verandas in the Dutch colonial style. Today, the citizens of Dutch Fort are trying to make it as a free port and a free trade zone. If successful, no taxes will be levied on the companies and individuals who reside inside the fort. More unusual still is that during the past decade, a small army of privileged Europeans has recognized the fort's attributes and ambience, and purchasing and renovating many of the neglected 400-year-old architectural important Dutch residences. While these self-described fabulous business crowd have contributed to the preservation of Galle's heritage, ironing that the fort has once again become an enclave of acquisitive outsiders.